where insanity reigns supreme and safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists. It's comforting to know an ancient, fat, long-haired, bearded reprobate has your mind in mind. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. And despite every attempt by the SHR Media Network to revoke his shameless contract, we return to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon.
I have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. I am in the SHR, the sumptuous and palatial SHR Media Studios. Belly up to the bar. We've kept your seat, and it's great to see you back. Tonight is Tuesday. It is April 2nd. The year of our Lord 2019 already. Snowball is going to be your bartender tonight. He pours with the best of them, and the lava lamp is in fact lighted to my left, your right, right there. There will be activity, I swear it, of this I swear. And that indicates that you can listen and chat at shrmedia.com. You can also go, quick like a bunny, to the Redcon 1 Media Facebook page and watch live there, or the SHR Media Facebook page, or the SHR Media YouTube channel, so you can listen and chat, or you can actually watch the show. And thanks to Big Sarge again for allowing me to Bigfoot Redcon 1 Media and his Facebook page at this late night time, because right now it's about 11:02 on the East Coast. I gotta tell you this. We don't water our drinks just like we don't water our conversation. Politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all right here at the saloon. Nothing is sacred. The speech is free, but the booze is not. All that we ask is that you flush the toilet, jiggle the handle. Don't forget to tip your waitress. Tonight, we're going to have Kurt Schlichter in the saloon. And I wanted to have him on to particularly weigh in on the insanity that's currently going on with regard to the Mueller report, because this proves, in my estimation, one very important thing. And I'm going to be very curious to see if Kurt Schlichter happens to agree with me. Now, the big question is, when I call Kurt, is he going to remember that I basically have a blocked phone because of my former cop life? So let's see if I can get him right now. This will be wonderful if I can.
Caller ID.
Hello?
Is this Kurt Schlichter, the Kurt Schlichter?
Yes, it is. Oh, my gosh. I had forgotten. I am going to do your show right now.
Yes, I am calling about that very self-same thing.
I am in my car.
Uh-oh.
At this moment. Okay. Don't worry. We're good.
Okay.
Everything's cool.
Just wanted to check.
We're going to make it an exciting production tonight.
Excellente.
You've got about 30 seconds of me driving back to my house. Then I will be on your show walking up my stairs. And then I will sit on my bed and I will be on your show.
Okay. Then perhaps this would be an excellent time. Kurt Schlichter, I've added a new media network that, in the meantime, has basically doubled or tripled my listeners to a couple of thousand now, so I appreciate that. I'm on the Redcon 1 Media Network, so you're not just talking to, maybe 1,000 people. We've doubled or tripled that right now, so that's one positive thing about tonight. So since we're doing that, I want to go into basically who Kurt Schlichter is. Now, for those who have been living in, I don't know, Zanzibar or the jungles of Borneo, or you've got a penthouse at the desert sands back in 1952, and you have the initials HH. Pretty much everybody.
And you're walking around with your unclipped toenails in Kleenex boxes, going, "Germs, there's germs."
That's right. I told you, kids, get off the damn lawn. Howard Hughes, by the way, was one of the craziest cats in the world. A self-made guy, except for the multiple millions of dollars given from his daddy, because his daddy happened to invent the drill bit, and the Hughes Tool Company took off from that. And also the Hughes Tool Company was originally in Texas, but then moved to Southern California, where you happen to be these days.
I am.
Howard Hughes was the weirdest cat in the world. I'm sort of a strange aficionado about Howard Hughes, but that's neither here nor there. Folks, if you are not aware, Kurt Schlichter is about one of the coolest cats that you're ever going to listen to on God's green planet. So as he exits his car and goes upstairs so he can chat on the show, folks, let me tell you a little bit about Kurt Schlichter. Kurt happens to be, he's an author, he's a veteran, he is a retired U.S. Army colonel, he's a commentator who has been absolutely everywhere between CNN and Fox News. He's a radio host who frequently guest hosts for Hugh Hewitt these days. He is a senior columnist at townhall.com, and he is currently an attorney, folks. So, I don't know. I think I have one word for Kurt Schlichter, and that is Kurt is a serious underachiever. He has not done much in life, which is really sad. It's very sad. Oh, and I almost forgot one of the most important things. Kurt Schlichter is creator of the hashtag caring. Hashtag caring. Because, well, after all, he does. He cares about you and me. The other thing that I want to get off my chest early is the fact that last time Kurt was on, we talked about two books that he had that had just come out. And they were a nonfiction book and a fiction book just about simultaneously published. The nonfiction book was Militant Normals. And I'll ask Kurt in a little bit, what is a militant normal? And then he also published his fictional book, Wildfire, which is third in the Kelly Turnbull series. And speaking of the Kelly Turnbull series, now I'm not here tonight to talk about his books because we talked about it last time. I'm here to talk about absolutely unexpurgated insanity. But I can't talk to Kurt Schlichter without pumping his books because I've read them all and I've purchased them all. And I only attempt to promote those people that I read. And Kurt's stuff is good. His first book in the Kelly Turnbull series is People's Republic. The second one is Indian Country. And the third is Wildfire. And there's a coming novel, Crisis. Now, it sounds like Kurt Schlichter might be sitting in a chair now.
I'm totally cool. I've been listening in. I could have talked, but you're talking about me, and as a Los Angeles trial lawyer, that's how I like things to go. I could sit and listen to people talk about me all day long. And by the way, my books have recently been hailed by no less than Captain Bill Crystal. Ahoy, matey!
Ahoy, Bill!
He called them appalling, and one of his sweaty, fat lapdogs said it was race war fiction. Now, you have read my books.
Jesus.
Is there any remote connection to anything like race war fiction in any of my books?
No,
or, more accurately, is it exactly the opposite?
It is exactly the opposite. It's a dystopian future that's disturbing. And just like reading 1984 by Eric Arthur Blair, who everyone knows as George Orwell, Orwell was prophetic, and I, day by day, month by month, year by year, I am afraid that Kurt Schlichter might too become a little bit too prophetic. So can you give, Kurt, can you give an overview of what your books are about? The country has split. So how did that happen?
The country split splits in the early 2020s. The forces that we see at play today just get too much. This is a warning, and the introduction say, hey, this is a war. This is not a how-to or what I'm really excited about happening. Remember, my family comes from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, which the Confederates burned down a couple times. And one of my earliest memories is being out at Gettysburg. So, I mean, my family was literally in the Civil War. And I served overseas in Kosovo. So I've seen this kind of thing, and I'm against it. I got to explain that for Bill Kristol because he's kind of stupid. And it splits, and you have a guy who basically does missions. He sometimes goes into the blue states, which are both coasts, and the middle's red, and he brings people out because you think Venezuela,
yes,
and that's pretty much what happens when you take Red America out of America. And he has adventures in People's Republic. It's straightforward. He goes in to get somebody and then bring them out. Indian Country talks a little about what happens when he goes in to assist some people behind the lines in resisting an authoritarian regime. And Wildfire is straight up action adventure. He goes to Europe. He's getting chased around. There are zombies, which he keeps explaining. They're not zombies.
Yeah.
They're not zombies. Stop calling them zombies. And it's funny. It's full of action. But I keep going back to this Bill Kristol because it's really baffling. Are you aware of something called the Turner Diaries?
Yes, I have.
This garbage
yes.
racial trash that I know it exists. Of course, I've never read it because I don't allow garbage into my life. It's unchristian. It's un-American. I don't want it anywhere near me. Well, these idiots in the latest incarnation of the Weekly Standard decided to compare my book to this other novel. In general ways, well, it's got shooting. So did this stupid race thing. It's about kind of trouble in America. Well, so's this. And all I could think of, because I didn't read the whole article, how do these people know so much about the Turner Diaries?
Unless they just happen to have read them.
Why would anyone subject themselves to it? I have also not read Mein Kampf, The Protocols of the Elders of Zion, or any Harlequin romances.
Okay, I'm with you. I'm with you on there. Folks, I also
nor 50 Shades of anything.
Yeah, thank God.
No.
Although you make an interesting point at this point. You've written nonfiction books, which include Militant Normals. I think you've written 9 books so far.
I've written a whole bunch.
You have Militant
some
Normals.
Traditional, some not traditional.
I am a liberal. I am a conservative. Conservative Insurgency. This is one of my favorite titles. Fetch my latte. And 50 Shades of Liberal. Now,
a very short but funny little thing about liberals and their inability to perform adequately sexually.
Yeah, imagine that. Oh, there's a new story that came out about that as well, folks.
Oh yeah,
we've
got to talk about that,
folks. I got to tell you that Kurt Schlichter is. By the way, the Redcon 1 people that are listening, a lot of military people there that have come over to the network. So I want to tell people that you're a retired U.S. Army colonel. You are a veteran of Operation Desert Storm. You were a veteran of Operation Enduring Freedom in Kosovo. You took your master's in strategic studies from the U.S. Army War College and your JD, your Juris Doctorate, from the Loyola Law School. So, like I say, clearly...
I was not a JAG. I want everyone to know I was not a JAG.
Okay.
I started off chemical and I was infantry.
Okay. Point made.
I had like the world's worst branch and the world's best branch.
Point.
It's like, hey, Schlichter, we're making you chemical. What the hell is that? When I transferred over to infantry, I knew what that was. I'm like, I didn't join the Army to do math.
No, or become a JAG for that matter.
Oh, God, no, I knew my parents.
Let's cut to the chase immediately because there's so much to talk about. Kurt Schlichter, now that the Mueller investigation has allegedly ended and that 4-page summary released by U.S. Attorney General, finally a U.S. Attorney General we can have some trust in, William Barr, Is it logical for me to conclude, as I have, that what we have seen in the past 3 years essentially is a soft coup against the citizens of the United States, the American taxpayer, and a presidential nominee who's a private citizen, a president-elect, and a sitting president? In your estimation, would this be accurate, sir?
I think that's a good way to sum it up. You had members of the elite, and I love when they start going, well, a lot of these people are registered Republicans. Yeah, so's Jeb.
Yeah, and Mittens.
I mean, really, in any situation, does anyone listening to this think that Jeb would ever be on your side about anything? Illegal aliens, welfare reform, health care, guns. Do you think Jeb is ever going to go, yeah, you guys here at the country club, I can't be with you. That guy over there who's actually, trimming the hedge, that's the guy I'm going to stand with. I'm going to try to do stuff that's going to help him out. Yeah, that will never happen.
Yeah, and in the camp with...
But I could see Trump doing it.
Yeah. It's like...
Here's one thing I get. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think
okay,
it's
go.
interesting. And I'll watch, sometimes you'll watch food, and they'll be showing Trump get off a plane or something. He'll always walk over to the cops or the soldiers or the firemen.
Yes.
And I don't think that's an affectation.
I don't think it is either. I think that's him.
Yeah, I think he's a guy who grew up on construction sites, who understood that the guys in the suits and ties were useful for some things. If you want the real story, you're going to go find the foreman, or you're going to find the guy who's doing the welding.
Yeah.
And they're going to give it to you straight. And he, as a developer, so many of us, look, I'm a lawyer. Everything I do is on paper. It's theoretical. It's arguments. I don't build anything. When I die, they're going to take all the files that I had and throw them away, and there will be literally nothing left of the thousands of disputes that I was in. My job's important, but it doesn't build something. He builds something. It's there, and it either works or it doesn't. You can't do the soft social science stuff. There's no curve. You don't grade on a curve. The building either stands up and works or it collapses, and that gives you a different mindset than the other people in this kind of soft journalistic class. Most of I look around. I go back to Washington, man, and I'll be with some of these guys, including Republicans, and I'll look around and I'm the only guy in the room who's ever been in a freaking fist fight.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, God, is that ever the truth? And there's a major difference around people that build things, that are constructors, that have a dog in the fight, and those people who exist solely, as far as they're concerned, to tear shit down because they're not builders. They are not constructors, and that's easy. Building something is difficult.
Exactly. And the thing is, everybody doesn't have to be a constructor. Look, I'm not a construction worker. I don't fix my own car anymore. I used to when I had a 73 Mustang, but I opened my car. I don't know what the hell's going on in there. But, I respect the guys who do. I commanded a lot of units with a lot of vehicles. I was sometimes a motor officer. I understand that these guys have abilities I don't have. So you've got to respect it. You've got to understand that simply because somebody doesn't sit at a typewriter all day like I do. Look, it's fun going into court, man. I got my suit, tie. Everybody's looking at you. It's kind of fun. And I'm good at it. And that's something. But it's not everything. The guy who makes sure the elevator works so I can get to the fifth floor, so I can get to the courtroom on time, that guy's making a contribution too. You don't have to be what you want to be. Do what you want to do, but respect other people who can do something you can't do. And I think that's what Donald Trump does, in a way. And he's, he has this terrible reputation, but he's the only guy who takes people seriously who aren't exactly like him.
This is probably a good point now to have you define for the new folks that are listening. Your newest book, your newest nonfiction book is Militant Normals. I am a militant normal. I have welcomed that phrase, that appellation into my life. You are a militant normal. For everybody else, can you tell us what a militant normal is?
In a lot of ways, militant normals are the kind of people who built this country.
Yes.
They feed it, they fuel it, they defend it.
Yes.
They are loyal to the country. They're loyal to their families. They don't particularly want to wield power for the sake of wielding power. That doesn't mean they don't participate in their communities. Many of them build companies. I built a company. Many of them are in activities. They're senior people at their churches. They're natural organizers. This is how it was militant normals who put together the Tea Party. It didn't need to be AstroTurf. Nobody had to write a check. It was just a bunch of normal American citizens who were used to organizing and building things and making things happen. But it's raffles and charities for the local hospital today. Tomorrow, let's get a thing together so we can speak out about Obamacare. And that's how the Tea Party stuff started. They're normal people. They don't want to boss anyone around. They just want things. They want the government to make things safe, keep things prosperous, not screw up, leave them alone, and treat them with a modicum of respect. And our elite, and I define the elite as the people who want to control institutions. That's what they do as part of their lives. That's their focus. They have gone back on the bargain. They've gotten all the powers and perks, right? Which is fine. Everybody gets a little off the top, but they didn't perform. They didn't do it well. If you think our country's been run well for the last 20 years, I don't think you've been paying attention.
No.
2008, anybody? I was just looking at my 401k. It still hasn't completely recovered. And the second thing is, the elite at least needs to know who they're doing stuff for. I mean, I use the example in the book of, the old British, the stuffy British officers, and, back in while they were stuffy and you could make fun of them, they had their guys. They understood that their duty was to England and to the people of England, and they would die if necessary. They were committed. Our elite is not committed to serving the country or the people in it. In fact, it compounds things by holding the people of the United States in active contempt. That's a little different than being, those ruffians. That's one thing, but those knuckle-dragging Jesus freaks should be disempowered and, shamed and humiliated. Those are very different things.
Well, I'm a militant normal. I've taken that, and I'm a proud militant normal because I believe in pushback, because all I've been receiving for the past, 10 years now, 13 years now, is pushback. So, Kurt Schlichter, I got to ask you, in all your years as a citizen, as a veteran, as a taxpayer, a political pundit, you're an attorney, you are a wide-awake militant normal, have you ever seen a situation similar to the one today where we have essentially every possible societal, media, and political weapon aimed at one man in the White House? President Donald John Trump, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head. Have you ever seen such power arrayed against just one guy?
No, and the fact that they can't take him down shows that they really have a glass jaw. Their strength comes from people surrendering to them. Their power comes from the John Boehners of the world going, well, let's go alone and get along instead of, hey, pound sand.
Yes, absolutely yes. People acquiescing.
If you tell them no, they've got a problem. The power of no is pretty amazing. I was dealing with someone the other day who's a fairly powerful guy in his context, and he told me X, and I said, no, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to do that. And moreover, if you ever speak to me again like that, you and I are going to have a freaking problem. And he's like, no one had ever said that to him before.
They're like little petulant kids who never have heard the word no before.
they're used to surrender. That's the thing. The only way we lose this fight is if we give up. Like the whole gun thing. There's 400 million guns out there. There's 100 million people standing behind those 400 million guns. The only way anyone ever gets guns out of America is if those 100 million people decide, okay, here you go.
Yeah.
What if we just say no? Because you don't do that. Say with free speech. What if we just say, I have a better idea? How about I say whatever I want all the time?
You know, I was thinking, who would otherwise possess the power, the stamina, and the wherewithal to take, much less fend? Because this is what he does. He fends off, and then he returns the daily and the hourly assaults that are arrayed against him.
That's my big worry.
Who else could take this shit?
Who exactly? Who's the guy? And here's the thing. I would think in a normal situation with normal people, you would have folks looking at him and going, let me learn from him. I think some of the Democrats have. I don't think they've learned all the right lessons.
No.
And I don't think they've learned to do it well. But I think they've learned, to be kind of aggressive in a way they hadn't been before, because I think they're worse than they have been. As for the Republicans, who's the guy who's willing to tell the media, their peers, the donors, to go to hell? Who's the guy willing to say, hey, CNN, you're scum? And I think there's a huge space for that, and I find it bizarre that no one is coming in to fill it. And I'm a little worried that back in 2024, because I think he's going to win next time, or 2025, in January 2025, he leaves office, and the Republicans are like, phew, now we can get back to normal, managing failure.
Yeah, perfect. That'd be great.
It's so much easier to be Paul Ryan.
It's like raising a child. How hard is it if you're raising a child to say, oh, okay, that's fine. Okay. All right. It's okay. That's all right. Yeah, you can do that. That's fine. No is very difficult concept.
Yeah, I think part of it is they've had true competition neutered out of them through academia and post-academia, the whole think tank world, where it's unseemly to pursue your interests aggressively. And I think people want that. I think Michael Avenatti, for instance, was an example of that on the Democrat side. No, he's a Los Angeles trial lawyer. He went in. Look at him. He went in there, and he's a boob who got a lot of attention because he went straight for his objective. And I think he would probably be a decent plaintiff. I'd still beat him in court. I'm still better than him. But, no, I deal with a lot of these guys. And there is something appealing about someone who will take up the fight. And not this fake, I'm fighting for you garbage. You look at Elizabeth Warren talking about that, and you're like, you're not fighting for me. That's not even remotely true. There are some people out there who just cannot live not winning. They're that competitive. And you look at a lot of these is freaking Paul Ryan, if Mitt Romney were a man, he'd commit ritual suicide because he failed. I think with Japan, he'd commit crime. Instead, he wanders around like he didn't lose.
Oh, God.
I would be. Nothing would have stopped me from coming in 2016 and proving I wasn't a loser. I could not have, if I had come so close and screwed up as bad as Mitt Romney did, because I think he did screw it up.
Oh, God.
I'd have learned from it, and every fiber of my being would be consumed on turning it around in 2016. And this passive sissy, all we got out of it is, well, Trump, you're so icky.
Yeah.
You. And the thing is, Trump's merciless. He identifies your weakness, and he drills it low energy, Mitt's a loser. The thing is, all these nicknames that they stick, because they're all true. Trump looks at it, he sees it, and he says what everyone else is too polite to say. It gets real. And people are dying for reality.
They are. My God, yes. Because when you assault Donald John Trump, folks, a lot of people need to realize, okay, they're assaulting you, me,
yes,
through him.
Yeah,
so when you think
Trump, they don't care about Trump.
You think he's the target? No. Militant Normals, you are the target. You're the target.
Bingo. It is entirely projection. Donald Trump is an avatar for our hopes, aspirations, and our militancy. Militant Normals don't want to be militant. We want to be left alone to do our own thing.
Exactly.
You go to church or go to the game, go fishing. Leave me alone. Don't tell me you want to take my SUV and my cheeseburgers because of your wacky weather religion. Leave me the hell alone. And, if you go to a bar out, in mid-America, if I walked into a bar in Oklahoma and I kicked open the door and I said, hey, you gun-loving Jesus freaks, with your stupid religion because you're stupid and your stupid hats, and I walked up and started poking the nearest cowpoke, the guy's first going to look at me like I'm going to say, he's going to go, partner, you feeling all right? And when you go, I'm feeling all right, you cow-loving blah, 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 you're going to be hunting teeth on the sawdust floor.
Yeah, you are.
Because, Americans are, I led them overseas. America's default is not hostile or ugly American. It is not brutal or cruel. Now, we are unparalleled fighters. We are very, very good. Very good and deadly and ruthless. But that is not the American default. The American default is a guy driving through a town. He's pulling open his MRE, sees a kid who's hungry, and he throws the kid the candy bar. That's the American default. Americans are nice. Here's my biggest part. One of my biggest problems at Coast Guard, which was essentially a peacekeeping operation. We did some other stuff I'm not going to talk about, but essentially peacekeeping. One of our biggest problems had to do with our post office. Right, we had about 2,000 guys, and we had a little post office, right, run by a couple Army postal specialists. And the problem was our guys would go on patrol. They would see a schoolhouse or something out in the community, and they would need that. It's a poor country, so they would write back to their local churches or colleges or school, whatever, and our post office would get flooded by good packages of stuff donated by Americans because our soldiers were saying, "Hey, back home, hey, Ma, tell the guys at church, these kids don't have mittens. We get 5,000 mittens."
Oh yeah,
that is. People don't understand the essential nature of Americans. We are not a perfect people, but we are a good people. And to get us mad really takes a bit of effort.
But when it happens, watch.
You don't want to be on the wrong side of it. But you get chance after chance. This is a country that fought a war of unparalleled brutality against the Japanese and pretty brutal against the Germans, and within 5 years had rebuilt the countries that they destroyed.
What? Kurt Schlichter, wait, you mean we didn't occupy them like you are taught in U.S. colleges these days? I'm shocked.
Our occupation was merely in the literal sense that we were there. The fact that we turned the government over so soon and the benign nature of our occupation.
Yeah. It was just
unbelievable.
Ask millennials, hey, by the way, have you ever heard of the Marshall Plan? Do you know what that is? Other than the title of a song from Blue Oyster Cult, do you have any fucking idea what that is? And they would say, oh yeah, dude, it's Blue Oyster Cult. Kurt Schlichter, you once wrote the question, and I thought it was incredibly insightful. You wrote, what will it take to make you understand and accept that they hate you? And I would now add, to the point now, where the left has truly become absolutely unhinged, and they, in my opinion, and I'm soliciting yours, they couldn't care less about the people of the United States, and I'm beginning to wonder if they care at all about the survival of the United States.
No, they would prefer that normal Americans be dead or enslaved, and they'll tell you that. I'm on social media, which is a poisonous cesspool of liberal id, and I'm told I told regularly, you're going to die soon. Your kind's going to die out. And of course, I'm wondering. So what's my kind? Freaking moron. They hate us.
They hate us.
And I think a lot of it's because they hate themselves and they want to reach out. The interesting thing is most conservatives don't hate them back, except to the extent they screw with us. And certainly conservatives normal people do have the capacity to hate. And, that is a couple steps beyond militant. But you keep pushing. You remember in the Dirty Dozen with Clint Walker and Lee Marvin, stop pushing me. You got to stop pushing me. It will end badly. But they do hate us. The nice thing is most of them are insufferable, incompetent, tactically unschooled sissies who can't really do anything about it.
That's
now,
true.
I would be worried if you made it this hatred with any kind of combat power.
Yeah,
but
or any.
Fortunately, they don't seem to have it.
Yeah, or any
thankfully.
training, etc.
Yeah,
it's gotten down to the point where it is, I believe, it's an either-or equation now, isn't it? Either, and again, tell me where I'm wrong, please, Kurt Schlichter. Either they win, or we win.
No, I think you're right. I think somebody's got to win. And when somebody wins, that's when the board gets reset. Everybody kind of goes along going, well, maybe it's not so bad to go back to kind of these traditional values of tolerance, respect for civil rights, not screwing with people. The thing is, there's a level of screwing with people now on the left. It's really unprecedented.
It is.
Everything from the climate change thing, where they basically want to restructure our lives in a way that meets their needs with zero understanding of ours. I mean, you get a bunch of urban people going, why do you guys need SUVs? And, of course, the proper response is, who the fuck asked you?
Yeah.
But there is a reason. I'm just an American. I don't provide reasons. But, guns, attacks on religion. Why is it so important for them to make a guy who makes cakes make it for a gay wedding? Why is it so important that they have to show that they have to signal submission to your view? And I don't, gay cake is not, whether you like or dislike gay cakes is not the issue. The issue is, why is it so important to the left to make you submit?
I can tell you exactly, and I can tell you from the weirdest.
The question is the answer.
I can tell you the weirdest ass reference is I used to work child abuse and sex assaults when I was a detective, and I relate them to that, and that's this. It's not unlike a rapist. In those situations, it's about two things. It's about power and control.
Yeah.
Power and control. Guaranteed.
And the thing is, normal Americans don't get off on power. You've said a couple times I'm an Army colonel. But I don't come off as an Army colonel because the eagle that I wore was lent to me by the people in the United States to perform a specific job. That is leading at the battalion or brigade level. It wasn't there. It wasn't Kurt Schlichter. It was a tool. But there are people who that's their whole world, and that's true whether they're in the media or Hollywood or wherever else. Their own personal power. That's kind of characteristic of the elite. They gather power. Normal people tend to use power as a tool and then leave it alone.
Yes, and
one of the stone coldest, toughest killers I know, who's a brilliant soldier, looks like Mr. Rogers. He's the gentlest guy you ever wanted to meet, and a stone killer. I mean, you know, you see him on the street, and you wouldn't think, oh my God, this guy's, you know, an airborne ranger, you know, did all this stuff. No, that's not who he is, because that isn't who he is. The power is not what drives him. And that's a very normal attitude.
If they win, if leftists, the Demorats, and what I call the American media maggots, if they win, the people of the United States, they're going to watch already. They're watching their rights, freedoms, and liberties drain away if they had their way. And in some occasions, that would happen overnight, because here's a list of what they're telling you that they want now these days. They want 16-year-olds to vote. They want illegals to vote. Today, they voted in the House. We're voting for the elimination of the Electoral College. They want the confiscation of firearms. They want the removal of free speech. They want to increase SCOTUS from 9 to 15 justices. They want court packing. In California, you and I, we know what ballot harvesting is. They want hot and cold running abortions on demand. They want unfettered suicide, unfettered infanticide.
Well, remember, they want suicide because that allows them to control it.
Yes.
You know, and you think you think those guys will get suicide, or the guys in the cheap seats? No, everything there. Look, everything liberals want, and I actually. My question is, you know, this Pete Buttigieg guy, right? They're all, you know, this new Democrat candidate, and they're all, you know, oh, he's exciting, he's cool. And he was saying, we're the party of freedom. And
oh, God.
I put on Twitter, I never got an answer. What policy do you agree with that will increase my freedom and make me more money? Or allow me to keep more of my own money. Just name one. Just name one.
Exactly.
That increases my freedom.
Exactly. Or
and there's no answer. Not for me.
The corollary to that question is, name the last time that any leftist or Democrat increased your freedom at all.
What is the on the First Amendment? In what way do you want me to be able to speak more? You like Citizens United. You want to undo Citizens United. Of course, the Citizens United decision was a Supreme Court case where the judges said, no, the government cannot stop someone from showing a movie critical of Hillary Clinton. I mean, it's just, and I'll mention that to leftists. And that isn't what it's around. No, that's literally what it was about. Citizens United wanted to show a movie about Hillary Clinton 30 days before an election, and under the McCain-Feingold, thank you, John McCain, that gives on giving, that it was a illegal campaign expenditure. In other words, the government was willing to put people in jail for showing a movie critical of Hillary Clinton, and liberals were okay with this.
Well, of course, their ox wasn't being gored.
Well, look,
case.
The thing is, they can make any rules they want, because as we see, the rules are never applied to them. So you can have a rule that there's, you know, no critical movies within 30 days before an election. But that won't apply to them. They'll just do it, and no one will charge them. Look at Hillary Clinton. You know a little about classified material. If any one of us did 1/10 of what James Comey said she did before he gave her a pass, we would be indicted, tried, convicted, and in federal prison. That's not an opinion.
No,
by the way.
I'd be
that's
down.
Not speculation. That's not. It could happen. That is absolutely what would happen. I remember I once put it out on Twitter. I said, this is what I think. Well, I'm a military guy. Any of you guys who had security clearances, do any of you disagree? And except for the occasional weird leftist Twitter troll, you know, I mean, it was just endless numbers of people going, yeah, man, I was a Navy crypto guy. I saw what he was saying. I had to sit down. I couldn't, you know, I couldn't figure, I couldn't get my head around somebody doing that and not being struck by lightning.
I would be down where you are right now, Kurt Schlichter. I'd be doing time in Terminal Island is where I would be.
And the thing is, and I have no particular desire to see Hillary Clinton go to jail. I don't think that's how you deal with political opponents. But I do think there has to be one set of rules where you don't have a free country. There's got to be one set of rules, and there aren't. Jussie Smollett. You were a police officer. How many times did you see a DA drop 16 felony charges? And I think he was overcharged, but that's a different question. But 16 of them dropped to 2 days of community service time served?
Yeah.
And waive your bail? I mean, I grew up with a mom who was a DA and a judge. That's not a thing.
It's funny that you are in my head at this point right now because I don't know if did you happen to see the IPBA statement on the Jussie Smollett case dismissal? That's the Illinois Prosecutors Bar Association.
I heard a little about it. They seemed dubious that it was on the
Oh, boy, are you being kind. I have a copy of it right in front of me. The Illinois Prosecutors Bar Association. They told who they are, and what they said was, and right in the first sentence, they said, nor is what occurred in, and they did not name her, nor what occurred is representative of the honest, ethical work prosecutors provide to the citizens of the state of Illinois on a daily basis. They've already called her unethical in the first sentence. Later on in that article, they go on to say that she lied. And you don't see anything? You don't see anything about that? In the American media maggots, do you? No, of course not.
Well, I mean, how can we pretend that we live in a free and just society? There are a lot of poor people, and rich, and even rich people, who have committed comparable crimes and been held to account for them fairly. And that's all I want. That's what I expect for Jussie Smollett. I don't think he should have gone to jail for 30 years or anything like that. But he did something that really damaged the community, took up valuable resources. He seemed intent on, he seemed likely to pick a couple random dudes out of a lineup and send them to prison for a long time. This calls for justice, and justice means punishment. And again, not in a vindictive way. Justice has to be the same for everybody, and it is demonstrably not in the United States. You want to know how many people were indicted over the 2008 stock market crash or financial crash?
I don't believe there were any, and the last one that is Bernie. I can't think of the guy's name. Who's doing
Bernie Madoff?
Bernie Madoff.
But he didn't quite come from that. There was one guy who was peripherally charged, who we never heard of, from a company we never heard of. No one from Goldman Sachs.
Yep, and nobody.
No one from any of no one from Lehman.
Nope.
Nobody from Sallie Mae or Fannie Mac or any of these things. No one who caused untold economic damage, disruption, was ever held accountable. Instead, the same people who lost all that money were rewarded by getting our money to fix the damage they did at no cost to themselves.
Yeah, insanity writ large, absolutely large. Folks, we're talking to Kurt Schlichter. He is an author. He is a columnist. He's a retired U.S. Army colonel. He's an attorney. And you're also doing stints these days, if I'm not mistaken, on the Hugh Hewitt Show. You're stepping in for Hugh now and then.
Occasionally they'll let me come in at 3 a.m. and do the show.
Yeah, lucky you at 3 a.m., which is one of the reasons that I don't listen to Hugh Hewitt.
I mean, the guys there, the team's so great. It's just a pleasure to do. It's a lot of fun. It's hard though. What you do is hard, man. I being a guest is easy.
But I
shoot my mouth off.
You
have a tough job.
You got Dwayne Patterson though. He'll help you through everything.
Dwayne, he's my command sergeant major.
Yes. That's why he is the generalissimo.
Yeah, Hugh doesn't really know ranks really. But, he's like SM. I'll come in and we'll debrief after every single segment. Was that one good? What could we do better? Here's the next one. Here's where I think I'm going to go. What do you think? Blah, 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 blah. Just the way I ran my units.
Perfect. Kurt Schlichter, I got to ask you another question. Can you possibly feature what would have happened to this nation had Hillary Clinton been elected president? Now, we started the show about the Mueller report and what that's revealing, and I said essentially it's a soft coup against the United States, against American citizens, taxpayers, etc. But can you imagine what we wouldn't know if Hillary Clinton were elected, and what, like bad shit in a sandlot covered over by all the cats in the neighborhood we would? And still, let me ask you this: do you not believe, sir, that there is a lot more coming and a lot more yet to be revealed?
I think there's a lot of garbage that's going to get uncovered. I think if Hillary Clinton, I think the damage to our country if Hillary Clinton had been elected, it actually frightens me. I think we'd be on my way to my books. She is a combination of malignant malice, stupidity, and arrogance. I mean, she's the perfect storm of failure. I think the damage she would have done, because she would not have been able to have held back from declaring war on people like us. Figurative first, maybe even literally. She hates us and would put that into practice. And there is not a right in the Bill of Rights. She would not have maybe a Third Amendment that she would not have used to attack us. And it's, we dodged an incredible bullet.
You know, you talk about dodging an incredible bullet, and it seems like, okay, every 4 years we say the same damn thing. But Kurt Schlichter, we keep saying it because leftist Demorats and the American media maggots, you and I both, I believe, understand. They keep ratcheting up the critically dangerous stupidity. But I'm postulating, I'm submitting, again, couldn't 2020 be an actual tipping point in the history of the United States of America?
I think if Trump wins, hopefully we're reaching towards reasonableness. The problem is there's no way for the left to back down. There is no market out there because they made this a moral question.
Yes.
We are more. We're not just opponents. We are actively evil. We must be destroyed. We must be diluted by foreigners. We must be suppressed by every means necessary, whether it's big media corporations or the government shutting us up. We are so bad that they must declare war on us in whatever form that takes. So there's no ability for some, and I thought maybe Biden could do it. But if you listen to Biden, he's buying into all this SJW crap, or getting up there when he's not groping some kid, yelling about his white privilege, all this idiocy. I thought Biden might be the guy who was able to say, hey, I'm going to, instead of attacking normal people, I'm going to be cool to them. I mean, I think there's a tremendous space in the Democrat Party that no one's in. Tulsi Gabbard kind of wandered in and said, hey, Mueller didn't find anything. We should be glad and move on. And, of course, she got a bunch of crap for that.
You know who said the exact same thing? Of all the people that you can possibly fucking imagine, Kurt Schlichter, the person who said that, we should be glad, just like you said just now, we should be glad that Mueller found nothing. And, yes, we should move on. Those words came out of the lips, and I heard it on CNN. Those words came out of the lips of Van Jones.
Interesting. He's a smart guy. I met him in the green room at CNN before they kicked me off forever. He's an interesting guy who, he's a communist.
He is a communist.
But he's also a guy who says, wait a minute, you got Trump over here and he's doing criminal justice reform. And, he's like, Democrats aren't doing that. Criminal justice, a whole different issue. But it's interesting how he doesn't always take, he sometimes goes in an interesting direction. But I think there is a space among the Democrats, not among the progressives, and I don't know if it's enough to win the primary, but I think there's a lane where you say, hey, Mueller didn't find it, so we need to move on. There are a lot of things we need to talk about, but the rest of America is not my enemy. Think about this. Think about a Democrat who said, look, I don't like guns. I mean, at all. But millions of Americans do, and millions of Americans have them. And I got to say, 15 million Americans have an AR-15, and one idiot every couple of years goes on a shooting spree. That, statistically, that does not justify me assaulting these 15 million law-abiding Americans. I'm not going to do it. You don't worry about your guns because you're not going to lose them. Because I'm not going to ban them. I'm not going to increase gun control. We're going to talk. Let's talk about mental health, which everybody agrees on.
Yes.
And I mean, imagine somebody who said, "Look, I'm not going to declare war on your religion. I'm all for gay rights and gay marriage. I will not allow somebody to be prosecuted because he doesn't want to." I don't agree with it. I think it's bad. I think you should. I think you should celebrate gay marriage, whatever. But not everyone does. That's their vision of religion. I'm not going to mess with you. I'm not going to mess with you if you're Hindu. I'm not going to mess with you if you're Muslim. I'm not going to mess with you if you're Jewish. I'm not going to mess with you if you're evangelical Christian. And I'm not going to talk down to any of you. And, as far as global warming, I believe it's happening, but we have to have a solution that doesn't leave people out in real America, without their SUVs. These are real Americans, who survive on fossil fuels. And it's, I'm not going to put Americans out of work because of this. We've got to figure out a better way. And I think there's a huge lane there for somebody, and I don't think any of the, in the general, I don't think any of them could win in the primary doing that.
No.
But to me, it's this gap. You look for the weak point in the enemy's front, and you fire all your force through it. The classic way to win. And I see this weakness in the Democrat front, and none of them want to exploit it.
It's a veritable kiss for them. It's a veritable kiss of death. Because you and I have experienced and we've seen and we've functioned around, where are the Zell Millers anymore? They're gone. Yeah. Where are the Joe Liebermans anymore? They're gone. We're finding now that all too many Demorats are insufficiently left for the left. And I fervently believe that what you said a couple of minutes ago is true. They've pushed themselves into the corner in such a fashion that they cannot extricate themselves from that position. The only way I think they'll be able to do it is after the crash of 2020. Now I believe they're going to crash. My fingers are crossed, but I think they're going to crash. So. Let me ask you.
I hope so. I think it's unsustainable because it's evil.
Yes.
It's evil because they don't recognize the individual dignity of human beings. They don't recognize the God-given rights of human beings. They're obsessed by race, gender, religion, all these things that should not enter into your evaluation of another human being. I mean, call me kooky, but I think Martin Luther King Jr. was right. It's the content of your character. That's all I'm going to live. Now, they would call that racist. But, you talk to normal Americans, including some who vote Democrat, because there are normals who vote Democrat, and they're like, well, yeah, you're supposed to treat everybody the same. And they get these long social justice warrior explanation of, well, your white privilege doesn't allow you, blah, blah, blah. They're like, no, I'm going to be cool to everybody. And that's just how it's going to pay.
Kurt Schlichter, we got 2 more minutes left, and I want to thank you for staying here for the entire hour. But one final question for you. I know what I would do. I'm going to ask you what you would do. In 2020, my strategy for Trump would be, I don't want to make it about me. Let's make it about the accomplishments, and I want to use the Democrats' videos and their words against them. Oh, the 30-second and 60-second commercials I could come up with from the words and the deeds of the Demorats. If you had to tell Trump to craft a strategy, what might that be?
I think, for one thing, you get as much primary footage of all the potential candidates as possible, because they're going to have to go hard left to win, far beyond what normal Americans are. And then you draw distinctions at the debates and other times when people are paying attention. I do not believe the illegal aliens should be allowed to stay in the United States if they come in. You do. In fact, Beto, you said you would tear down the wall. I'm not willing to let everyone from the third world in the United States. I think we have to secure our borders. You don't. And where's he going to go? I think the government should never tell somebody what to say. You do. Just along those lines. Plus, hey, you had 8 years of Obama, and the economy wasn't anywhere. Look at your 401ks. Look at the fact that we're at the lowest black, lowest Latino unemployment ever.
Yes.
I think my attack would be he's already at 50% with Hispanics, according to one poll.
Yep.
And that's not just Cubans. That's all Hispanics. And, of course, the whole idea of Hispanic is just a stupid racist concept anyway, because the Spanish-speaking folks is a whole rainbow of people. It's all very different. But what you're really talking about is getting folks the Democrats are targeting looking at the Republicans. And if you can do that with black Americans, I think it's possible because of the economy. And a lot of older folks are very set in their ways. I think a lot of younger people are going to need to be saying, hey, wait a minute. This is the guy who finally delivered. And the Democrats haven't delivered.
Yes.
If he gets 10% of the black vote, that destroys the Democrat calculus. If he gets 20% of the black vote, the Democrat Party ends as a functioning party for at least an election cycle until they come back and start appealing to everybody instead of narrow demographics.
I've had Brandon Straka on the show 3 times before. He's the creator of the Walk Away movement. I've had guys on the show from Blexit, and I think we're going to see it factored in a little bit last year. I think we're going to see a much bigger factor in for 2020. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we have had the distinct honor and the distinct pleasure of speaking with the very sagacious Kurt Schlichter tonight, who currently has 2 books out, and I want to mention them again. In the nonfiction realm, it's Militant Normals by Kurt Schlichter. In the Kelly Turnbull series of fiction, it's Wildfire, the 3rd in the Kelly Turnbull series. Kurt Schlichter, thank you ever so kindly for being here tonight. I thank you so much for staying for the full hour. God bless. Take care and be safe, sir.
Hey, thank you for having me. Hope we can do it again soon.
Thank you kindly, sir. That, folks, was a hell of an interview. What we're going to do now is we're going to take a break, come right back, and oddly enough, as you know, I'm known to read Kurt Schlichter articles, and oddly enough, isn't it strange, when we come back after the break, I have Kurt's new article that I'm going to read, The Conservative Case for Conservatism by Kurt Schlichter himself. Folks, you're listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin right here on the SHR Media Network, where I am broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. Come back in 5.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic, concealed carry, and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On SHRmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. SHRmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Thanks for listening on shrmedia.com and being in the chat room. Lots of folks in the chat room. Lots of folks came in to listen to Kurt Schlichter. Thank you ever so kindly again to Kurt Schlichter for being here. He originally said, okay, maybe 15 minutes, half hour or so. And instead, he was kind enough to drop a full hour interview on us. And again, thank you ever so kindly to Kurt Schlichter for that. Thanks to everybody for listening and also watching the show, courtesy of Big Sarge on Redcon 1 Media. Redcon 1 Media on their Facebook page. And also thanks if you happen to be watching on the SHR Media Network on the Facebook page, SHR Media Facebook page, and also the SHR Media YouTube channel. Thanks for that as well. So there are 3 ways you can watch on the Redcon 1 Media Facebook page. You can watch on the SHR Media Facebook page, and you can also watch on the SHR Media YouTube channel and go to shrmedia.com. That's where you'll find the chat room, and you can listen to us on Spreaker. And you can follow me, by the way, on Twitter at BZEP, B-Z-E-P. You can like and follow me on my Facebook page, Bloviating Zeppelin. You can follow and like the SHR Media Facebook page and subscribe, if you would, to the SHR Media YouTube channel. Click notifications, give our videos a thumbs up. Great hosts, great videos, great shows. And because I'm on Redcon 1 Media, also please click like, friend, and follow me there, Redcon 1 Media on their Facebook page. Thanks for doing that. I appreciate it. And again, thanks to Kurt Schlichter. That's the third time that he's been on. There will be a fourth time. Tomorrow night, just thought I would preview this. There will be a chat show, and we will have people in the chat room for the chat show. That's tomorrow night with myself and Clint, Sackheads Clint and Sackheads BZ in the chat show, The Sackheads Against Tyranny. That's going to be on tomorrow night. Thursday night, as I'm back, we will talk again to the constitutional professor, the scholar, otherwise known as Michael Jones. That far from getting 3 doctorates, as he told us last time. And I got, every time I talked to Professor Jones, boy, have I got a lot of stuff for him. There were in the Redcon 1 Media Facebook page from last Thursday, there were over 100 comments from and to him on that Facebook page. And I'm getting a ton of views. And also thanks, everybody, for listening, watching, and also listening later in podcast. And also thanks to all the American truckers who occasionally send me an email and let me know what they think of the show. Most of it is in podcast. And I thank them for it. I thank you for that. Thanks to be... okay, here's an issue. All right. Okay, we're going to get this out in the open. The Alaskan in chat now has been chastising me for quite some time, and I feel wounded. I feel hurt. Wounded. And he says, why is it that the lava lamp never really gets up and going? And he says in chat right now, BZ needs to come in at least an hour or two before the show to get the lava lamp warm and working. It's not right that he has to walk over to the lamp on his left and on our right. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. Specifically for you, Alaskan. And I can do this because Sackhead Sean is not here this week. So I'm going to leave the lava lamp on all night. And so when I get here tomorrow, the lava lamp should be, it should have a lot of seniority on it when I get here. Because the deal is, I get here about an hour before the show. This is a studio. I don't live here. We pay rent in this place. We actually have a bathroom over there, and there's a couch and a sofa and a big TV. And it's an actual studio that I have to drive to, and it takes me at least a half hour to get here. So I get here at 7 o'clock, and it takes me from 7 o'clock until just a couple of minutes before the show to arrange all this GURP in front of me. So the lava lamp gets turned on right around 7 o'clock, because otherwise it takes me about an hour to get everything ready. And I don't get here before 7 o'clock, because, I gotta have dinner, gotta talk to the wife, gotta find out what's going on, that kind of thing. So tomorrow, Alaskan, you will discover when you watch the chat show, The Sackheads Against Tyranny, that the lava lamp will be in full spring. It will be lively. It will be a lively lava lamp. L cubed, lively lava lamp. Just thought I'd let you know. We spoke to Kurt Schlichter in the first hour, and he has a great article. He writes, he's a senior columnist at townhall.com. And his newest article, which came out in townhall.com yesterday, is called The Conservative Case for Conservatism. And then right after that, let's see, where is this? Here we go. I found a magnificent article by Victor Davis Hanson. I don't know if you guys read Victor Davis Hanson. He's a university professor in, of all places, Fresno. He's a history stud. This guy knows his history because that's what he does. I got to get him on the show. I sent him an email. Someone sent an email back to me, so I'm in the process of attempting to contact him because Victor Davis Hanson is one intelligent mofo, and I would love to have him on the show and essentially ask him the same questions that I asked Kurt Schlichter. What is it we're seeing right now these days? In any event, he wrote this article, and it came out of, AmericanGreatness.com, where he writes. And the headline on this, the title is The Tables Turn in Russian Collusion Hunt. This is brilliant. This is brilliant stuff by Victor Davis Hanson. So I want to read this right after the Kurt Schlichter article. And then, folks, did anybody say that they want some happy stories? Because, damn it, Jim, do I have some happy stories for you tonight. But first, this article from Kurt Schlichter, The Conservative Case for Conservatism. For us actual conservatives, one of the most tiresome aspects of our struggle to retake our country is our never-ending struggle to get the Fredo-cons who still populate our movement to take our own side in this fight. Exhibit A is the conservative case for X, whatever, phenomenon, in which X inevitably equals some liberal goal, objective, or obsession. We're supposed to nod our heads and give in to the progs because, it's actually conservative somehow. Kurt writes, hard pass. The latest example is the article, A Conservative Case for Puerto Rican Statehood, that recently ran in National Review for reasons that remain elusive even after reading it. Now, let's be clear, this is not a column telling National Review or author Kyle Salmon what they can and cannot publish. National Review and author Kyle Salmon should say whatever they want all the time, just as you and I should say whatever we want all the time. This column is about continuing and critiquing ideas. Bad ideas, like the bad ideas in this particular article, as well as the bad ideas that permeate the whole let's push the conservative envelope genre. How about we work on taping the conservative envelope back together before we rip it to shreds? This tactic seems to lower our defenses to unconservative policies by leveraging implausible explanations for why they're actually conservative policies. You can put a cherry on top of what your corgi left on the lawn, but that cherry doesn't turn it into a dessert. Ooh, visual. The article's subheading gives away the game. Besides being the right thing to do, it could awaken Americans to the necessity of our Constitution's Federalist principles. Now, the Federalist principle stuff is just silly. That federalism is good does not somehow translate into it being a good idea to take a long-term possession with a different culture, relative poverty, and substantial corruption, and make it a state. Economically, it would be a liability, not an asset. Moreover, a good bunch of Puerto Ricans do not want federalism or any other ism associated with the U.S. of A. They want independence, and they have shot up the House of Representatives, bombed New York City, and tried to off Harry Truman to make their point. Anybody remember that, by the way? This is me inserting that. Why, again, do we want to pay 2 new Demorat senators to buy ourselves an insurrection? But the really bad part of the argument is that first part. It's the right thing to do. Kurt writes, No, it's not. Stop that. That's of a kind with the but our principles ploy we've seen so much of lately. A good rule of thumb is that anybody who starts babbling about principles is trying to shaft you. You will inevitably observe that those often newly discovered principles always apply to decrease your power, your rights, and your wealth, yet never, ever apply to the hustlers who are demanding that you observe them. It's a grift, a scam, a con of cons by people pretending to be cons. This evocation of moral necessity to justify us giving up our power, our money, and our rights is one of the most annoying things about the kind of, I never conservatism exemplified by the Bushes and that sissy Mitt Romney and so many others who aspire to do the nominally GOP CEO of a falling America and efficiently manage its slow decline. You look through the whole Puerto Rico article, and there's not one single new benefit that you or I or the rest of the United States derives from bestowing statehood on the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico. Yes, we benefit from the proud service of Puerto Ricans in our military. He writes, I served with some, but we benefit from that today. It never even seeks to answer the question, what's in it for us? Stop. And what's wrong with asking, as Americans, what's in it for us? Did we not just get over 8 years of someone in the White House never asking what's in it for us, never advocating for Americans, never advocating for the American taxpayer and the American citizen? Never once did Obama ask in terms of deals with other nations, what's in it for us? It was just a plain giveaway. Back to Kurt Schlichter. And it's not wrong for conservatives to ask that question. If our ideology keeps failing to deliver for us, we'll find a new ideology. The conservative movement needs to learn from the protest vote that allowed Donald Trump to defeat 15 good conservatives and also Jeb and win the GOP nomination, then win the election. We're tired of a conservatism that refuses to deliver for conservatives, but happily delivers for our opponents, based upon the assertion of dubious moral obligations asserted by our purported moral betters. Now, the right thing to do is the most frustrating kind of would-be moral trump card. You can't really argue against it because it's the right thing to do and because it's not an argument. It's a means to foreclose argument. Why do you ruffians hate doing the right thing? And this kind of moral extortion happens a lot when alleged conservatives decide they want to do something unconservative. They dress up sheep in wolf's clothing to weaken the pack. Just look at that low-energy sap, Jeb Bush. He was the king of the conservative case for move, which at least meant he got to be the leader of something. He was always ready to deliver on liberal objectives while pretending they were somehow conservative. How about that act of love? That is illegal immigration. You think Jeb or the Judge Smailses at his country club will have to wait in ERs crowded with ex-Guatemalans that their identities will get stolen or that their families will experience the delights of illegal alien crime? Yeah, right. No. The right thing to do is for you to endure it all and for them to walk around bathing in the good vibrations of their ruling class buddies. We're not allowed to ask what's in it for us if tens of millions of foreigners come flooding in, diluting our votes, pillaging our paychecks, and sometimes raping or murdering our families. It's the right thing to do. So, shut up. And you know a bunch of soft-serve Republicans are aching to show how much they love science by rolling over on the climate change fraud. Right now, they're preparing their conservative cases for banning cars, for people like you and me, but not them, for banning air travel, for people like you and me, but not them, and for banning cheeseburgers, for people like you and me, but not them. You see, because of reasons making the lives of normal people miserable because maybe the weather might be slightly warmer in a century, while also transferring our money and our power to leftists is the right thing to do. Okay, Kurt writes, how about we do things that benefit Americans? Conservative things. How about we demand respect for our rights? That's a conservative principle. Let's try that. How about we demand respect for the law and insist that there be one set of laws that applies to everyone equally? Stop. Isn't that what Kurt Schlichter just said less than an hour ago? And the answer is yes, he said exactly that. Yeah, that seems like a good conservative goal. In fact, there are a lot of good things about conservatism. Maybe we should focus on making the case for conservatism instead of making the case for always giving liberals what they want. And again, another great article by Kurt Schlichter, The Conservative Case for Conservatism. We were talking in chat earlier between myself and Dave Milner, I believe, if I'm getting the remembrance correct. And we were talking about all these various alleged conservatives We spoke about John McCain. Even Kurt Schlichter mentioned John McCain, and I've mentioned frequently John McCain, and I know he's dead, and I never really liked him because John McCain was not honest. John McCain was a corrupter. John McCain was an underminer, and I would have had actual respect for John McCain if he'd done one fucking thing. And it was very simple, and I think it was in his nature, but because it's all about John McCain and he's a corrupter, he could not find it within himself to do that, and that's to be honest. And if John McCain had actually been honest with Americans, because he said so in 2010, as a matter of fact, he tried to hold the Republican Party hostage, if you recall, in 2010. He should have just done it in 2010 and been honest with all of us, honest with himself, honest with the people of Arizona, and changed his R to a D because that's what the fuck he was. He was a Democrat. Now this other article by Victor Davis Hanson, it's brilliant, and it touches on a lot of the aspects that we've heard about and that I wanted to touch with Kurt Schlichter. But he goes into great depth on this. Victor Davis Hanson, if you're not reading his stuff, you need to. This came out the 31st, 3 days ago, by Victor Davis Hanson. The tables turn in Russian collusion hunt. The irony of the entire Russian collusion hoax is that accusers who cried the loudest about leaking, collusion, lying, and obstruction are themselves soon very likely to be accused of just those crimes. Do you believe that? Do you believe, like me, that some of the persons who were obstructing are themselves going to find themselves potentially charged in the future? Now, a lot of people are saying, no, this will never happen. This will never occur. And I'm saying, it's like all of this is like an iceberg. We're just seeing the tip of this. There's much more. And Kurt Schlichter agreed there will be more revelations to come, which is why I wanted to go into this article tonight. Now that Robert Mueller's 674-day, $30 million investigation is over and has failed to find the original goal of its mandate, evidence of a criminal conspiracy between the Trump presidential campaign and the Russian government to sway the 2016 election, and now that thousands of once-sealed government documents will likely be released in unredacted form, those who eagerly assumed the role of the hunters, I love this, those who eagerly assumed the role of the hunters may become the hunted due to their own zealous violation of the nation's trust and its laws. He writes, take lying. Former FBI Director James Comey's testimonies cannot be reconciled with those of his own Deputy Director Andrew McCabe. He falsely testified that the Steele dossier was not the main basis for obtaining FISA court warrants on at least 245 occasions. 245 occasions. Comey swore under oath that he did not either know or could not remember when asked direct questions about his conduct at the FBI. He likely lied when he testified that he did not conclude his assessment of the Clinton illegal email use before he had even interviewed Clinton, an assertion contradicted by his own written report. I guess his credo and modus operandi are reflected in the subtitle of the recent autobiography, A Higher Loyalty, Truth, Lies, and Leadership. Andrew McCabe currently is under criminal referral for lying to federal investigators about leaking to the media. He and Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein each have accused each other of not telling the whole truth about their shared caper of trying to force President Trump out of office by invoking the 25th Amendment. Former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper has admitted to lying under oath to Congress, and since lied about his earlier admission of that lying. His recent sworn Congressional testimony of having not leaked information about the Steele dossier to the media is again likely to be untrue, given that Clapper had admitted to speaking to CNN's Jake Tapper about the dossier's contents. CNN, remember, would in turn go on to hire the mendacious Clapper as an analyst. And once on air, Clapper would insist that Trump was both a Russian asset and thus guilty of collusion crimes greater than those of Watergate. Lies. All lies. Former CIA Director John Brennan. Stop. John Brennan was a communist. If you think he no longer is a communist, do you believe him? Asks BZ. Former CIA Director John Brennan has admitted to lying under oath to Congress on 2 occasions. He may well face further legal exposure. When he lost his security clearance, he repeatedly lied that Trump was guilty of collusion. However, that non-crime is defined. And as the Mueller probe wound down, Brennan, with pseudo-authority and trumped-up hints of phony access to secret intelligence sources, deceitfully assured the nation that Trump within days would face indictment, perhaps along with his family members. Okay, Brennan in 2016 also reached out to foreign intelligence services, primarily British and Australian, to surveil and entrap Trump aides as a way of circumventing rules preventing CIA monitoring of American citizens. Imagine that. And he may well have also reverse-targeted Americans under the guise of monitoring foreign nationals in order to build a case of so-called Trump collusion. Finally, Brennan testified to Congress in May 2017 that he had not been earlier aware of the dossier or its contents before the election, although in August 2016, it is also certain that he had briefed Senator Harry Reid, Demorat of Nevada, on it in a spirited effort to have Reid pressure the FBI to keep or expand its counterintelligence investigation of Trump during the critical final weeks of the election. Clinton aides Cheryl Mills and Huma Abedin likely also lied to FBI investigators when they claimed they had no knowledge while working at the State Department that their boss, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, was using an illegal private email server. In fact, they had read her communications on it and actually inquired about its efficacy. Samantha Power, the former UN ambassador in her last year in office, requested on more than 260 occasions to unmask names of Americans monitored by the government. Yet Power later claimed that most of those requests were not made by her. And yet she either does not know or does not cite who exactly used her name in order to make such requests during the election cycle. In any case, no one has come forward to admit to the improper use of Power's name to request the unmasking of hundreds of American citizens. Susan Rice, the former Obama national security advisor, could have made a number of unmasking requests in Power's name, although she initially denied making any requests in her own name, a lie she immediately amended. Rice, remember, repeatedly lied on national television about the cause and origins of the Benghazi attack, denied there were cash payments for hostages in the Iran deal, misled about the conduct of Bo Bergdahl, and prevaricated over the existence and destruction of weapons of mass destruction in Syria. Deputy Attorney General Bruce Orr did not tell the truth on a federal written disclosure required by law when he omitted the key fact that his wife, Nellie Orr, worked on Christopher Steele's Fusion GPS dossier. Orr's testimony that he completely briefed FBI officials on the dossier in July or August of 2016 is not compatible to what former FBI attorney Lisa Page has testified to concerning the dates of her own knowledge of the Steele material. Take foreign collusion. Christopher Steele is a foreign national. So are many of the Russian sources that he claims he had contacted to solicit dirt on Donald Trump and his campaign aides. In fact, John Brennan's CIA, soon in consultation with the FBI, was used in circuitous fashion to facilitate surveillance of Donald Trump's campaign through the use of foreign nationals during the 2016 campaign. Foreigners such as Maltese Professor Joseph Mifsud and former Australian Minister for Foreign Affairs Alexander Downer and an array of intelligence contractors from the British Foreign and Commonwealth Office, the FCO, mysteriously met with minor Trump aide George Papadopoulos and others. It's likely that to disguise American intelligence agencies' efforts to besmirch, surveil, and leak to the press damaging unfounded rumors about the Trump campaign, that John Brennan enlisted an entire cadre of foreign nationals. And it's likely to be the most egregious example of using non-U.S. citizens to affect the outcome of an election in our history. Let me repeat that. It is likely to be the most egregious example of using non-U.S. citizens to affect the outcome of an election in our history. If there's a crime of foreign collusion, a conspiracy of U.S. officials to use foreigners to interfere with an American election, then Brennan's efforts are the textbook example. Take leaking. Many of the names unmasked by requests from Samantha Power and Susan Rice were leaked illegally to the media. James Comey himself leaked confidential memos of presidential conversations to the press. In at least one case, the memo was likely classified. Now, do you remember? Do you know now? Does that ring a bell? That's why BZ calls little Jimmy the Leak. Former FBI General Counsel James Baker is currently under criminal referral for improperly leaking classified documents. He seems to have been in contact with the media before the election, and he may have been one of many FBI officials in contacts, along with Christopher Steele, that reporters such as David Korn, Michael Isikoff, and Julia Ioffe anonymously referenced in their pre-election published hit pieces on Russian collusion, all the result of the successful strategies of Fusion GPS, along with some in the FBI to seed unverified anti-Trump gossip to warp the election. Andrew McCabe also is under criminal referral, both for leaking classified information and then lying about it. And gee, this is exactly what Kurt Schlichter and I spoke about in the first hour. All the forces, so many counterintelligence forces in the United States of America, along with the American media maggots, all the leftists, and the Demorats arrayed against one guy, now President Trump. And make no mistake, like I've said before, told Kurt Schlichter, he agreed, and I'm telling you now, yeah, okay, it's about Donald Trump. But it's also making sure that average Americans like you and me, we get skewered right up the ass by leftists. Victor Davis Hanson continues, in a fashion emblematic of this entire sordid mess, the always ethically compromised James Clapper, in January 2017, had leaked the dossier to Jake Tapper of CNN and likely other journalists, and then shortly afterwards publicly deplored just this sort of government leaking that led to sensational stories about the dossier. Take obstruction of justice. A number of FBI and Department of Justice high-ranking employees, such as James Comey, Andrew McCabe, Rod Rosenstein, and Sally Yates, all signed off on FISA warrants to surveil Carter Page without apprising the courts that they knew that their chief evidence, the Steele dossier, wasn't verified, was paid for by Hillary Clinton, and was used in circular fashion as the basis for news accounts presented to the court. By the way, a Yahoo News story was placed in the affidavit. Yahoo News story. That was used to proffer evidence to a FISA court judge. Yahoo News. Yeah. Nor did the Justice Department and FBI officials apprise the FISA justices that Christopher Steele had been terminated as an FBI source. Act of omission. Purposely. No one believes that former Attorney General Loretta Lynch just happened to meet Bill Clinton on a Phoenix airport tarmac, and that they confined their conversations to a variety of topics having nothing to do with Hillary Clinton, at a time when Lynch's Justice Department was investigating her. Note the meeting was only disclosed because a reporter got a tip and arrived on the scene of the two adjoining Lynch and Clinton private jets, which suggests that the only thing Lynch and Clinton regretted was being found out. Few believed that Lynch had recused herself as she promised, giving her strict oversight of the sort of language Comey's FBI was allowed to use in its investigation of Clinton. Remember? Comey was supposed to call it a matter, not an investigation. It's just it's a matter. Take conflict of interest. Andrew McCabe should never have been in charge of the FBI investigation of Hillary Clinton, given that just months earlier, folks, listen to this. I told you about this 2 years ago, and Victor Davis Hanson rightly repeats it here. Andrew McCabe should never have been in charge of the FBI investigation of Hillary Clinton, given that just months earlier, Andrew McCabe's wife had been the recipient of $675,000 in campaign cash donated by Clinton and Democratic Party-affiliated political action committees, and the apology of a timeline that supports conflicts of interest like McCabe's expired after an arbitrary date is specious. McCabe knew his spouse had been a recent recipient of Clinton-related money, knew that he had substantial influence on the fate of her email investigation, and hoped and assured that she was likely to be the next president of the United States quite soon. Thank you, Victor Davis Hanson. Rod Rosenstein never should have been appointed acting attorney general in charge of oversight of the Mueller investigation. He knew Mueller well. In circular fashion, he had drafted the rationale to fire Comey that had prompted the Mueller's appointment. He had signed off on a FISA warrant request without apprising the court of the true nature of the Steele dossier's origins and nature. He'd met shortly before the Mueller appointment with acting FBI Director Andrew McCabe to investigate the chance of removing Trump under a distortion of the 25th Amendment. So, in essence, Rosenstein had been one of the catalysts for McCabe to investigate removing Trump for his own part in the removal of Comey, and then, in Orwellian fashion, joined McCabe's efforts. Isn't that odd? Comey deliberately leaked a classified memo of a presidential conversation in which he had misled the president about his actual status under FBI investigations in order to cause enough media outrage over his firing to prompt the hiring of a special counsel. Do you remember? Comey said that. Comey admitted it out loud. It's on YouTube. It's on the internet. You can find it any day, any minute, any hour. That gambit succeeded in the appointment of his own longtime associate, Robert Mueller, who would be charged to investigate collusion, in which Comey played an important role in monitoring the Trump campaign with the assistance of British national Christopher Steele. Robert Mueller did not need to appoint a legal team inordinately democratic, which included attorneys who had been either donors to the Clinton campaign or had been attorneys for Clinton aides, or had defended the Clinton Foundation, and he certainly should not have included on his investigative team that was charged with adjudicating Russian collusion in the 2016 election both Zainab Ahmad and Andrew Weissman, Obama Justice Department officials who had been briefed by Bruce Orr before the election on the nature of the Steele dossier and its use of foreign sources. It will be difficult to unravel all of the above lying, distortion, and unethical and illegal conduct. The motives of these bad actors are diverse, but they share a common denominator. As Washington politicos and administrative state careerists, all of them believed that Donald Trump was so abhorrent that he should be prevented from winning the 2016 election. And then after his stunning and shocking victory, they assumed further that either he should not be inaugurated or he should be removed from office as soon as they could arrange it. They further reasoned that as high and esteemed unelected officials, their efforts were above and beyond the law, and rightly so, given their assumed superior wisdom and morality. Finally, if their initial efforts were predicated on winning not just exemption from the law, but even promotions and kudos from a grateful President Hillary Clinton. Their subsequent energies at removing Trump and investing in the collusion hoax were preemptive and defensive. Seeding the collusion hoax was a way either of removing Trump, who had the presidential power to call them all to account for their illegality, or at least causing so much media chaos and political havoc that their own crimes and misdemeanors would be forgotten by becoming submerged after years of scandal, conspiracies, and media sensationalism. And they were almost, but so far not quite, correct in all of their assumptions. That was The Tables Turned in Russian Collusion Hunt by Victor Davis Hanson. Is there anyone listening to me tonight that thinks that, well, BZ, you're way out of your league? There was no coup. These were people who were simply acting properly, that are trying to save this country from a guy with a dead orange cat on his head. Because they were doing it for the right reasons, all the right reasons. Does anybody think out there that this wasn't a soft coup? I don't see anybody in chat. Now, I've got a few more minutes, about 14 more minutes. And I think that's time enough for some happy stories. And I've got a lot of them. And I hope in the amount of time we have remaining that I'll be able to go through all of them. So with no more further ado, I really think it's time.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
This came out today, and it's wonderful, it's remarkable, and I love the hell out of it. Because as Kurt Schlichter indicated in the first hour, Donald Trump is getting shit done. And oddly enough, isn't that why we elected him? And isn't he one of the few presidents we've found recently who's actually keeping up with election promises? We've had more federal judges appointed under Trump, lower appellate courts and lower courts, than in quite some time. And President Trump keeps shoving them in and putting them in, and the Senate keeps going, okay, all right, go, 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 go. This is from Fox News. Love this. Feinstein fumes as Trump administration pushes forward with Ninth Circuit nominees without consulting her. Oh, no. The Senate is poised this week to consider two more conservative nominees selected by President Trump to sit on the left-leaning Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and the top Democrat on the Judiciary Committee is not happy about it. That's because the California-based nominees, Ken Lee and Dan Collins, were picked without any input from either Dianne Feinstein or Kamala Harris, California's two Demorat senators. Now, traditionally, the White House seeks to obtain a so-called blue slip or approval from a judicial's nominees, two home state senators, where the judicial nominee resides before pressing on with their nominations. But the Trump administration, which has successfully nominated several conservative judges to the Ninth Circuit already, has pointedly disregarded that process as it continues its push to transform the appellate court that the president repeatedly has derided as hopelessly biased and disgraceful. And it is. How do you think it got there? All the leftist senators in California, people quailed before these folks. You must have our approval. And President Trump simply doesn't give one Mark A. Model 1 fuck about this. And that's why that's a happy story. Here's another thing. This is, of all places, from CNN. And I love the title. We need more people like this. This is definitely a happy story. This Colorado sheriff is willing to go to jail rather than enforce a proposed gun law. That's a happy story. Weld County Sheriff Steve Reams disagrees so much with a gun bill making its way through Colorado legislature that he's willing to go to jail rather than enforce it. He said, quote, "It's a matter of doing what's right. He's not the only one who feels so strongly. The controversial red flag bill aims to seize guns temporarily from people who are deemed to be a threat to themselves or others. Colorado State Senate passed the bill Thursday by a single vote without any Republican support." Gee, does that sound like California with a K? Not just a supermajority, but a mega majority. In the state of California, aren't you pleased to know that Republicans are absolutely immaterial? You don't need one Republican vote here in California for leftists and Democrats to do whatever the hell they want. Apparently, Colorado's just about in that same seat. Colorado State Senate passed the bill Thursday by a single vote without any Republican support, and the bill is expected to pass the House possibly this week, with Democratic majorities in both chambers in Colorado. Imagine that. State Republicans have too few votes to stand in the way, but more than half of Colorado's 64 counties officially oppose the bill. Many have even declared themselves Second Amendment sanctuary counties in protest. Failure to enforce a court order to seize a person's guns could mean sheriffs being found in contempt. A judge could fine them indefinitely or even send them to jail to force them to comply. Reams says it's a sacrifice that he would be forced to make. There is a stand-up American, ladies and gentlemen, because leftists and Demorats have pushed too fucking far, and it's time to push back. My respect to Weld County Sheriff Reams. You have my respect, sir. Here's another one. Of course, we can't give Trump any kudos for things like this going on. U.S. factory activity bounced back in March. This is from Breitbart. Of course, you didn't hear anything about this. U.S. manufacturing activity mounted an unexpected comeback in March. The Institute for Supply Management, ISM, said its index of national factory activity climbed to 55.3 in March, compared with the months prior of 54.2. Economists had been expecting the index to remain flat after seriously declining in December and slowing again in February. Here's another one. This I find, I guess it's a happy story, but it's also, I think it's funny. This is from, of all places, foodandwine.com. Just the headline was enough to make me giggle. Now, feature this. You and I have an intimate relationship with utilities like this, but certain personnel do not. The headline, I love this. Tuna fish is struggling because millennials don't even own can openers. Where do you keep your can opener? If you're going to answer that question, nice going, Pops. Clearly, you're not hip to the millennial trend of not even bothering to own one, or at least that's tuna giant Starkist's fate. In a recent Wall Street Journal, Starkist's vice president of marketing and innovation, Andy Mix, specifically cited young people's supposed distaste for the device as one of the many reasons the tuna market is struggling. A lot of millennials don't even own can openers. Okay. All right. I'm sorry, I just found that funny. Here's another happy story, because this guy is such a boob. Remember when Eric Swalwell said, well, hell, if you guys don't comply, we can just nuke America because we have the atom bomb. This is from the Daily Mail in the UK. Don't tell anyone, but I'm announcing in 2 weeks, California Representative Eric Swalwell, Eric the Nuke. Eric, I just created a new name for him. He's Eric the Nuke. We've had Eric the Red, a Viking. Why can't we have Eric the Nuke? California Representative Eric the Nuke Swalwell, set to take the Democratic field near record levels as Joe Biden's presumed launch hits a crisis. Joe Biden has hit the Me Too movement. And Eric the Nuke Swalwell, has thrown his hat in the ring. That's important. Here's something that I find happy. This is a happy story. As long as you don't bring this shit down here, Canadians. This is from capforcanada.com. Canadian households to pay $1,100 per year in carbon tax. Nova Scotia, $1,120. And Alberta, $1,111 will have the highest bills, followed by Saskatchewan, $1,032, and New Brunswick, only $963, Newfoundland, only $859, and Prince Edward Island, only $788. The average household in Ontario will pay $707 a year to comply with the carbon tax once it is fully implemented. I love to see leftists sweat. Canada, that's a great idea. Keep that bullshit up where you are. Thank you. We're moving right along. This is from an article from Dr. Rich Swire. And he writes, this is an interesting article. He writes, 55 years of carte blanche lies by the mainstream media. As soon as the 2016 election results came in, many on the left exploded in anger, smashing windows, setting fires, calling for Trump to be assassinated, labeling his supporters bigots and sexists who would be murdered. Protesters burned Trump in effigy and passed around a stuffed figure of Trump in a noose. And then came the Russian collusion investigation, thanks to Rod Rosenstein's appointment of Robert Mueller, James Clapper, et al., etc. And this is a happy story because of all your crap, no one believes you anymore. Fake news? And that's a happy story. Now, nature does abhor a vacuum, and when you're in the process of being dead and dying, another word for that is moribund. I kind of like that word. Doesn't it sound like what it is? You are moribund. Well, the American media maggots are moribund as well. Here is probably what I would consider the happiest story of the night. And this comes from ammoland.com. We actually won one in California. California with a K. The article says Brownells resumes high cap magazine sales to California. Stock up now while you can before the re-ban. So, what happened? Brownells resumed selling its entire magazine selection to California customers. This was amazing and wonderful. I think tomorrow or Thursday I'm going to read what the judge wrote in this, because the judge who made this decision is a Cuban, and he's seen oppression. And he's felt oppression personally, and he knows what it looks like, and he is a Second Amendment supporter. Isn't that funny how that works out? Brownells resumed selling its entire magazine selection to California customers after a U.S. District Court declared California's ban and confiscation laws against more than 10 round capacity magazines unconstitutional. That occurred this week. So Brownells began filling California orders for all types of magazines early on in the morning of Monday, April 1st, 2019. That was yesterday. So, folks, especially those of you who are living in California with a K, like me, my suggestion is go out to your favorite gun store, put some money where your mouth is, and throw down some cash or a credit card for an assload of high-capacity magazines. And by the way, while you're there, make them the highest capacity magazines that you possibly can.
Monsieur!
Ah, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. If you want to contact me, you can find me on Twitter at BZEP, at BZEP. And also on my blog at bloviatingzeppelin.net. Thanks to Redcon One Media, courtesy of Big Sarge, for simulcasting my show. Promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works and the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. And also Pratt & Whitney Engines. Thrust, you can trust. Tiaras by My Little Pony. Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team with whom I shall be consorting in less than an hour. Bank on that, baby. Thanks for listening live. Thanks ever so kindly for listening live. Thanks to Kurt Schlichter. Thank you for being in chat. Thanks for listening in podcast. I appreciate each and every one of you and the time that you take out of your busy day and night to listen. So, tomorrow night, chat show, Sackheads Against Tyranny. Me and Clint. God bless. Take care. Be safe, folks.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children.
Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night.
Good night, Jim Bob. Go to sleep.
Good night, and good luck.